2022. I'm in Bayside Station. The house is rumbling today in New York. I'm watching CBS this morning. They're speaking on President Zelensky, and they show meager, Meger beginning. Very much like when my grandfather moved to America. It looks like he did not have the colors on the wall. They have a soft pink. My grandfather did not. He had different color. Mostly white, just white, bare white on the wall. No color. And he had frescoes that he painted on the ceiling by hand. But simple, meager, simple, simplistic. When he came to America is how he lived, and he has a small kitchen table where in the afternoons after school, my grandfather would sit with me. He'd have a little glass of red wine, and he'd serve me the most odd food that Linda and Lou would not. He would freeze bacon, and he had some special word for it, which I can't remember at this age, but I would eat frozen bacon, and it was the most delicious thing. Or he would eat a little piece of salami with the wine in the afternoon at the siesta time. But again, it was a small table, but everybody gathered around it. And so that's what it reminds me of when I watch Zelensky. And my grandfather, again, was from northern Italy, Albania, Yugoslavia area. And so he was an Alpini. So there's that. And then it says that, and he was in the Red Cross, my grandfather. No pistole. And so he would draw the landscape, and before, when there was no cameras, he was hired and he was asked to paint the war by his hand, since they had photographs, but he was not asked for that. Whatever, he was talented, they asked for his drawing. But I hear this word, Zelensky's grandfather fought on the Soviet for a Nazi. Now, I mean, in Italiano, parlare Italiano, it's naso, N-A-Z-O, is the nose. My grandfather used to have a saying, it's better than a punch on the nose, because then you break, in English, I know it's the perpendicular plate in the middle that causes a bump if you break the nose, and when you fix your nose in plastic surgery in America, they call it rhinoplasty. For my rhino, whatever. I think that's some kind of diving gear that they use, like a second skin. They call it rhino, whatever. It's a brand. But the other thing is with Nazi and naso, you know the nose of your enemy. You were there, or you were told what it looks like. The other people, they have no idea what your enemy looks like. When you fight these wars, and then these words and these legends and these big movements and campaigns, they follow and pass forward with the people that have been hurt. And if the nose of your enemy is told wrong, it becomes a dangerous next event. And I thought that the purpose of fighting a war was to never have to fight again and to remember. So I don't understand why it is so hard to keep the nose of the enemies in joint, and to have one clear message within the family feudal business, or futile, I don't know. Some of these words might anger or trigger things. All I know is that the broad nozzle where I am, like each area, and then the word nosy is like you're into somebody else's business, you're trying to whatever. These things on language laboratory are a big concern, but also a big helping point at times. So anyway, so this is what they showed of him today, which reminded me of the small table when my grandfather was here.
The president also went to visit his elderly parents.
This is my mother.
Hello, ma'am. Nice to meet you. Inviting us in for breakfast.
Ladies first, I'm sorry.
I think I'm fairly sure presidents get to go first.
Just to show wisdom.
In the tiny...
That's the tiny table. My grandfather had one of those in Bayside when he came to America.
Tiny kitchen of their apartment, we enjoyed an early morning brandy. Do you prefer politics or comedy? Comedy, his father Alexander told us, saying he worried too much about his only child. Vladimir Putin said he launched this bloody invasion to rid Ukraine of Nazis. A strange claim when Zelensky is Jewish and says his grandfather fought against the Nazis with the Soviet army. Now Ukraine is in peril again, and the country's unlikely leader has emerged as a hero.
It's truly, truly awful.
Even getting Hollywood's attention at an award ceremony Sunday.
We have a fellow actor in Zelensky who deserves some credit tonight for fighting the fight.
But Vladimir Zelensky has left showbiz far behind. He's found a new calling, helping to galvanize his people and winning the admiration of a world horrified by Putin's attack on Ukraine. For CBS Mornings, Holly Williams.
It's amazing that Holly was able to do that a year ago, so we got to see him up close and personal. Just to see him in the bathroom washing his hands.
Yeah.
So usually sitting there with his mom and dad, this is my mom. But the best line I heard him say recently when the U.S. offered him a way out, he said, I don't need a ride, I need ammunition.
Yeah, well, his ability, his communication skills turned out to be very central to this fight where disinformation and misinformation is so important. I like the description of him as being the Ukrainian Steve Carell. I hope Steve Carell hears that and gives him new perspective into what's going on there.
And there's a very cliche.
So Steve Carell is the 40-year-old virgin. That's 40. So it's Vier and Zero. But it's also that idea of maintaining one's virtue and one's respectfulness on the inside when you go and you are amongst the whatever, because in this world, I had a conversation this morning. I took Anthony to school, and there was this very tall, he was over 6 foot, which is unusual around here. Most people are less than 6 foot. And he had this he reminded me of something from the Vikings on the TV show HBO put out, with a red color beard. And he was a burly man, like he was whatever. And he had a mask on, and I said to him, can I excuse me? I said, I just want to say thank you. I said, my son said you made him very angry. I was like, but for all the right reasons. And he said, I don't understand. What happened was my son, who doesn't have role models here in New York at all, he is watching now these YouTube videos, and he's starting to squeak, making weird noises for no reason, like awkward. And so But like the other kids do it too, which is even, I'm like, oh, they're not even wired in right. Oh my God. So I said to the man, I said, you really thoroughly insulted him. I was like, by telling him that it's not okay to squeak. I said, so I thank you as his only male role model in this area that I can see that was brave enough to tell him to stop it. And so he just starts laughing. And I said, so, because they have the most ridiculous thing in New York where it's like, obviously, you're not supposed to touch the children. That I agree with. But it's almost like you're afraid to speak to the children and tell them what it's acceptable to say or not say. They're looking for role models and for how to behave. I don't understand how. If my son is squeaking like a squeaky toy, somebody say something to him. Tell him it's not okay. I would appreciate it. And so I went up to the man and I thanked him for being mean, but in all the right ways, qualifying him for a good role model for my son. I said, I, as a mother, greatly appreciate it. So thank you. So I walked away. But he was laughing because, again, it's such an odd thing. Like, you really upset my son. I just want to say thank you. So anyhow, so that's what's going on for me this morning. It's March 4th, 2022. It's Earth, Solar System, Milky Way, Universe, Galaxy is broken, and it's Bayside Station, Bayside, New York, 11361.